All right, welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. Welcome to MiSCA 2025. This is our annual informational meeting for coaches and parents, but student riders are definitely allowed to join and learn more about the league. It's just generally, our audience is coaches and parents, it seems. I'm going to welcome you to 2025. It's going to be an awesome year. We're excited to be back, bigger and better than ever. And looking forward to just, getting more kids on bikes and spreading the love for mountain biking across the state. A few quick housekeeping items. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat throughout the webinar. We'll have people, Zandra and Sarah and others who are staff or board will be in there replying to your comments or answering some questions, and then we'll answer them live as we can. And then at the end of the webinar, we'll also have a live Q&A session. So please don't unmute yourself throughout the presentation. If you have a quick question, you can ask it in the chat. And at the end, you can unmute and ask a question if you'd like, or have a comment or something like that. Feel free at that time. That would be the right time to do it. All right, with that, we will get started. So my name is Sean Warren. I'm the Executive Director for the Michigan Scholastic Cycling Association, commonly known as MiSCA. And that's probably the only way we'll say it the rest of the time, probably the rest of the year. And I've been with MiSCA since 2012. I joined the board and quickly got sucked into race operations and had many roles throughout the organization, including race director and president of the board. And now I actually am on staff for the league year round as the executive director, supported by an awesome team. So this is our agenda for tonight's call. We're going to go a little bit over MiSCA's mission, our history and growth. We'll go over what the league structure looks like, how our teams, like how the team in the league and students and coaches all kind of work together to make MiSCA MiSCA. We'll list off our current clubs and teams that we have throughout the league and understand what the difference between composite and scholastic teams are. We'll go over our race program highlights for changes for the year and our schedule. We'll talk about all the other programs that we're doing in addition to racing. We have a call for volunteers at the end there as well. And like I said before, we have additional Q&A allotted at the end. All right. So MiSCA's mission, kind of in a nutshell, like one sentence, is that we are empowering communities to develop and grow K through 12 youth mountain biking programs. We're a nonprofit, 501c3. But basically, we exist to instill confidence by promoting the values of an active lifestyle, healthy competition, and outdoor stewardship and adventure while building lifelong friendships in an inclusive environment. And what that means is that, it's not just about racing and developing the next, Olympic athletes or something like that. It's all about getting more kids on bikes together, joining a club or a team, building those friendships, and building, like I said, a lifelong love for the sport as well. So we do this in three different ways, or kind of three different pillars of the organization. We have youth-focused programming, which is kind of our core, right? So we do the youth race series, we do skills camps and clinics, historically. We have initiatives to get more females on bikes, which is our Brave program. We started a non-competitive adventure-focused program last year, which we're continuing again this year with some awesome advances. And then we also have our Devo Junior Development Program, which is more for the riders who are kind of looking to advance their skills to the next level. We offer coaching curriculum and guidance for adults as well. So we develop our coaching curriculum for our coaches to be able to train mountain biking skills to all students of all levels. We have a certification program and training for the coaches. And then we also practice safe biking and safe kids principles through our coaching program. In addition to that, we have a statewide network of support. So we have what we call a coach advisory committee, which is a little over 50 of our coaches who are kind of in like a chat group that we talk to throughout the year to throw ideas, to bounce ideas off of, and and they share, best practices on their teams and what they're doing together, and that kind of like builds this network that the teams can talk to each other um, and share ideas and things like that. And we also have a structure and guidance for clubs to form and grow. So as people may raise their hand and say, hey, I want to start a team in my area, what does that look like? We have a process to put them through to help them move through there to the first day that they're starting their club. And also like as you have a new team, you're going to need kind of guidance on how to grow it or what to do once you get too big. Or how to handle, I have all these kids coming now, what do I do? It's a different conversation than what you have to do to start a team. Here's a little bit of our history. We were founded in 2010. We got our nonprofit status fully in 2012. Originally, we were underneath the Michigan Mountain Biking Association umbrella, operating within their structure. Um, in 2014, we started being 100% student only. We had originally done one student only race every year, which was our state championship. And then we moved that into um, being all of the races in the series were student only starting in 2014. I think we did like 3 races in that around that time. In 2016, we expanded our focus to West Michigan and started doing races at Cannonsburg, and that's expanded since then by far. In 2018, we introduced the league model, which is what you'll come to know and understand is MiSCA. Before that, there really wasn't a way for coaches to join MiSCA, and there was no official like teams. It was just you show up to events and you score as a team, but there really wasn't any training or insurance or anything like that for our clubs to operate. And now that's all official under MiSCA. In 2020, it was a tumultuous year into 2021 as well. And we were able to still operate our full 6-race series by working with our venues, land managers, and within the state regulations and all of that to still offer a program for as many kids as we could. For the most part, since we were outside, the teams and clubs were able to operate. It was all about having the big events. That was a little bit of a challenge for us. In 2022, we introduced new skills curriculum for coaches. So pretty much if you got trained before 2022, that old skill stuff is all phased out about now. Next year will be kind of the last year for that being around anymore. And then last year we launched our new adventure events, which are really cool and fun, and we'll talk about that more later. Here's kind of a quick map of like where we're at as far as like where people are at that are in MiSCA. The darker dots with bikes on them are coaches, and the lighter dots are riders. And there's a ton of overlap in there too, right? So I think there's only like 1 dot per zip code or something when we know that there's a lot of kids from same zip codes on a team, right? But what's cool about this is that entire families, kids and adults, participate in MiSCA. It's not just about the kids joining a club and then you sit in your car for 2 hours while they're at practice or at a game or something like that, or you're sitting on the sidelines. In MiSCA, we encourage parents and families to join as coaches, and it gives you something to do, and you get to ride with the team and have fun. And it's something that you can share outside of MiSCA as well, right? So on the weekend, you might go to the park and ride bikes or go on when your spring break may be around bikes going in the future. And that's been kind of a cool thing that we've seen happen as kids join MiSCA. They tend to bring their parents with them, and they get to develop a love for the sport as well. Also, our families engage in multiple outdoor activities, so we don't necessarily encourage you to bike year round, even though that's a fun thing to do. You can give your knees a break and do skiing or kayaking or whatever else in the outdoors. People and generally families in MiSCA enjoy other outdoor activities, camping, etc. Last year, we had 1,085 students join the program, and 568 coaches. We operated 6 races with an average of 632 racers at each one, which was a new record for us as far as a record high for our average. And then we beat our highest race ever as well. I think it was around 670, something like that was our highest race last year. And now we are seeing around 1,200 spectators or more come to race weekend to cheer on the racers and enjoy the time. We have 21 official clubs or teams that join MiSCA, and then have coaches and students join their teams. And we also trained over 150 coaches last year in person on skills. This is kind of a chart of where we've come from since 2018, and then kind of where we're at now. Once again, I mentioned earlier in 2018 is when we started the league model, where coaches and students actually join MiSCA on an annual level, and not just racing. And then, so I kind of have that charted out for our race average for the year, and then how many students and coaches total have joined MiSCA each year. All right. Let's see. Okay, Jacob was running late, so I'm gonna start his slides. But Jacob Rende is our registration manager. If you email registration@miscabike.org, which is kind of the main place where coaches and parents might email MiSCA to get help on something or have a question. Jacob is generally your primary person who will answer your email. It goes to a few different people, but Jacob's generally the primary person that you'll interact with if you do email us with questions. So a little bit about kind of what you do. It's already April 9th, so probably a lot of people have already gone through the system and registered. But if this is your first year to MiSCA and you're just kind of feeling out what it is and what we do, we have a system called CCN. And it is our registration system. So it keeps track of all of our teams, all the students and coaches join the teams. It keeps track of our coach requirements. So if a coach completes CPR training, they upload their certificate to CCN, and then we know what level all the coaches are at. We talk about the levels a little bit later. But this one system is kind of our place of like where everything belongs. Where you join MiSCA, where you register for races, where you register for adventure events or Brave or anything else that you might want to do with MiSCA. Generally, it's going to be done through CCN. You access that by going to miscabike.org/register. Also, if you go to our website, there's a button at the top that says register/login. If you click on that button, it takes you to CCN. But if you go to that website, it also takes you to CCN. So you don't have to go to our site every time and click register. You just go to /register and you'll be there. This is what our league structure looks like. Kind of at the top is MiSCA, right? So everything kind of joins MiSCA generally. So teams and clubs will register with MiSCA each year, and that makes them an official team. They get covered under MiSCA's insurance. And then they, from then on, kind of operate under MiSCA's guidelines with our rules. We have coaches and, excuse me, adult volunteers will join the team. All adults who join the team basically have to be coaches. And we use the word coach, even though not everybody might be like your typical coach, let's say, right? Like in a soccer team, there might be one or two coaches and there's like 20 kids or something like that. In MiSCA, there's usually a lot of adults that are around and they might be in different roles in the team, like sweeping the ride. They're not necessarily teaching skills, which might be more of your traditional kind of coach that you would think of. But we call all adults that register with MiSCA coaches. And you start as a level 1 coach and then work your way up if you want to. From there, we do require that all teams have at least a level 2 coach with every ride group. So that way there's somebody who's first aid CPR riding with every group within MiSCA. And then our level 3 coaches are skills trained coaches. So each team should have at least one level 3 coach. Most teams have way more than that. And that way there's many coaches who can teach the kids skills. All right, and then students also join the teams and clubs, right? So generally there's fewer coaches than there are students. So that's kind of why it's formatted like that, but really coaches and students are, they both join the teams. I would say the coaches are the ones who are providing the actual programming to the students, which is awesome, right? MiSCA is not there on the ground like with staff or something like that. It's all of our coaches, and they're the ones who are really operating the practices and running MiSCA throughout the year. And then at the events is where we have like staffed programming. So students join the clubs and teams as well. We have no age minimum, and we go through 12th grade. We offer programming for graduating seniors, and then obviously after that, kids can become coaches, and we encourage that as students graduate to kind of give back and become coaches as well. We do require one coach per 6 students on the trail. So if you're riding, if the kids are riding, then you'll generally have 2 coaches in a group. One will be a level 2, one will be a level 1 sweeping, and then you can have like 12 kids in a ride group then. But every kind of team is going to format that differently depending on the skills and ages that they have within their team. They'll break out in the different groups. So one other thing about this is that students are not required to join a team. So if there is no team in your area, you can still join MiSCA as a student. You join what we call our independent team. So when you go through the process, you'll say join as independent, and then you can still participate in all the MiSCA events and things like that. You just won't have an official team there. So to become an official club or team, you have to register with MiSCA annually. Like I said earlier, that gets you covered under MiSCA's insurance, and you get eligible for team awards at that point. Coaches and riders, you can register for your team by going to miscabike.org/register. And that's where teams register to. So everybody goes to that same link to register, no matter what they're registering for. So how do you become a coach with MiSCA? So there is a fee. It's $30 to join MiSCA. That covers your background check and any online or in-person training. So even like our skills training is free for coaches, and you don't get charged for the background check. A lot of the other kind of leagues that I've seen, usually you pay a fee and you pay for a background check. So we're trying to kind of get to like net zero on the value that we give to the coaches versus how much you're charging. So you're pretty much paying for your background check and the insurance for the year for you to participate in MiSCA. And then obviously then we also do training. So we help you with that. You do have to go through an online concussion training every year and pass a quiz. There's a coaching on the trail material that you read, and you pass a quiz for that. And then we do have a code of conduct and a safe kids policy that you should read every year. And then you have to kind of just prove that you've done those things. You can see all the details for that at miscabike.org/coach. And registration is open. You go to miscabike.org/register. Jacob, I hear that you are on. Would you like to start up from here?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Sorry for being late. My name is Jacob. I am the registration manager this year for MiSCA. I don't know what Sean touched on. I just joined the meeting, but we have 3 levels of coaching here at MiSCA. The first one is the most basic level of coaching. Then we go up from there. To become a certified level 2 coach, you must be at least 21 years old. And I do know we have a lot of returning high school students. So we'd love them to join the program, but they will be a level 1 coach for the first few years. And then they have to maintain a first aid and CPR certification. You can go to miscabike.org and find where to do that. Once you upload that certificate, I will manually verify it. Just so you all know, you do not need to re-upload it every year. If the certificate is good for 2 years, it'll stay on your file. Then there's some links down there that you can use to go into it a little bit more. Our level 3 coaches are most advanced level of coaching, as someone knows. And then with that, there are essential mountain bike skills coaching clinics that you can attend. We already had a few this year, actually, and they are free for coaches. We do have a few upcoming here, and if you have any questions, reach out to registration at miscabike.org, and we would be happy to assist you in registration, or if you just have any general questions. And then here's a breakdown of the level 1, 2, and 3 coaches. The biggest difference between level 1 and 2 is that you can't really lead a ride. You can still be on your ride with a level 2 or above. And then it kind of goes up from there. To become a MiSCA student rider, this fee structure hasn't changed from previous years. That's $75. If you're a returning student, first-year students get a 25% break. And then to find a team, you can go to miscabike.org/teams for that information. There should be a map on that website that can kind of pinpoint teams in your area. If you still need help, like I said, you can just reach out to that email address and I'll be happy to help you with that. Those team managers are very responsive, and sometimes they have passcodes or things like that that you'll need to use to get into their CCN. So I won't actually have information for that. You will have to reach out to the team for a specific passcode. And then independent riders are welcome as well. An independent rider is just a rider who's not associated with a team. They race independently. So at the races, when we call them up, for example, we would just call up their name. They wouldn't be associated with anyone. We do have independent riders who do place on the podium though, so everybody's welcome. And then we have 2 types of teams. We have scholastic and composite team. Scholastic teams are teams formed from students from just basically one school. And that's a lot of high school. We do have quite a few high school scholastic teams at this point. The other type of team we have is composite teams, where it's comprised of multiple schools in the area. A good example would probably be, that comes to mind, Grand Valley. I used to actually race for them, but they're comprised of a few different schools in the area. They have Huron Valley. They kind of have 2 teams, but that would be a good example that comes to mind.
Actually, Huron Valley is a scholastic team now. They used to be composite. Rochester is a good example. So Rochester has 3 different high schools. They all compete as one team. So they're a composite team. But Huron Valley now is scholastic. But a lot of our scholastic teams also have a composite component too, right? So like, for example, Huron Valley and Brighton both, I think all of our scholastic teams, like Orion, they all have a composite component where if they allow riders to join their team from other schools to practice with them on like a weekly basis, those riders will still wear like a Lake Orion jersey at the races, but they'll score as like the Lake Orion composite team. And there'll be another group of students that go to Lake Orion High School and they will compete as a Lake Orion Scholastic team.
And then this is just another breakdown of all the teams that we have. We have teams all over the Lower Peninsula. We haven't gotten to the Upper Peninsula yet, but the farthest one north that we have right now is a team forming in Traverse City. But we have one in Midland and quite a few in the Grand Rapids and Southwest Michigan area at this point. And here's another breakdown of just the teams that we offer.
All right, thanks, Jacob. Zandra is up next, and Zandra is our race program director.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us and taking time to learn more or refresh yourself with our community. The first thing I want to go into is a breakdown of our categories that we have. So if you are new to racing with us or new to racing in general and not sure where your rider would go, we have 11 elementary categories. And the big change for those returning is that we have broken down the 2nd and 3rd grade males into their own categories. That's all I really want to say about elementary categories, except they will be racing on Saturdays. So that's if you're planning your falls and trying to figure out where and how to maximize your fun, elementary riders will be racing on Saturday. Moving on to middle school and high school, We have 8 categories for middle school. The one change returning participants will notice is there's a word intermediate. Our intermediate category is the previous novice category, and we've created what we are now calling novice as a true beginner category. If your rider or you as a rider do not have much of any race experience, the novice category is where you can start. Intermediate is the old novice. That being said, if your rider raced in novice last year, they will be racing in intermediate. And we'll go into that a little bit more later on. And our middle school racers will be racing on Sundays this fall. For our high school race categories, we also have 8. They will also be racing on Sundays. And there's no change planned from last year to this year if you are returning. If you do have questions on where your rider should be placed, if you are new to MiSCA, please reach out to your coaches. If you are an independent rider, please email registration and seek guidance on that. On the money side of things, your annual registration, if you have not yet registered, it is a $75 annual registration. Registration is open. In addition to the annual registration fee, there is a race fee. Regular pricing, early bird pricing, and series pass pricing is listed on this slide. Have a chance to take a look at it. Registering early, and for all of them, you get 50% off as opposed to signing up for each individual race and paying one race fee for all 6 of them. And you'll get an annual t-shirt. If you are a first-year rider, there is a $25 discount that's applied during your CCN checkout. We want to give a big thanks to the Rochester Bike Shop for their sponsorship of scholarships. If you are in a financial hardship, please reach out to registration and have a conversation with them.
Yeah, but just a note on the scholarship process, you could just go to miscabike.org/scholarship, or in the header, there'll be a financial aid drop down. So you don't have to email us. You can just fill it out, and then based on the questions, you'll get an email back with the approval. But we approve every request that we get. It's just a matter of what level of support you need, is kind of what defines, why we're asking the questions.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Sean. I'm going to give a real quick kind of definition of upgrade, downgrade, recommendations, and then mandatory upgrades. So for upgrades, it is something that your rider has the opportunity to do. After August 1st, it does require approval. If your rider is on a team, have that conversation with their coach. If they choose to upgrade, which would be racing in a higher experience category, then their points for that current year would be, they would move with them. If they are downgrading, points will not go with them, and a request is going to need to be made and approved. For the next one, we have mandatory upgrades. If your rider is on a team, your coach will get an email of the mandatory upgrades. And that is riders who finished within any of the categories that we require mandatory, which is not elementary, not under 5th grade. We do not require those racers to mandatory upgrade. So it would be if you're entering 6th grade or above, and you've finished first place in a field of 6 or more, or top 3 in a field of 11 or more. If you are an independent rider and you are mandatory upgraded, excuse me, your email on file to your parent would get that email as opposed to a coach on a team. As we have the intermediate category new this year, which is the old novice, we are introducing recommended upgrades. And that's going to apply to anyone who's entering 5th grade or above. Essentially, if your rider participated last year in a novice category, they will be recommended into the intermediate in 5th grade or above. So that would be the 5th graders going into 6th grade fall of 2025. Sean, did you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, I just would say that like the mandatory upgrades are very rigid and it's a requirement, right? And we don't really approve downgrades from a mandatory upgrade. The recommended upgrades are more of a tool for us to place kids where we think they should go. Because most of the time a mandatory upgrade isn't even really required because, you know, if a student wins the varsity category, you know, they're probably going to go to varsity, or I'm sorry, junior varsity, they're probably going to go to varsity anyways. So the recommended is just, it kind of expands on that a little bit more of kind of who we expect would upgrade. But coaches are allowed to move those riders down from where we recommend. And then it applies to everybody 5th grade and above, not just the middle schoolers going to 6th grade for novice, just to clarify that.
More information can be found in detail in our rules PDF, which is available on our website. And as a part of your registration process, there is an understanding that you know them, read them, and if you have questions, by all means, please feel free to email me or the registration. There were a few changes from last year to this year, just to note them real quick. Varsity categories used to have more of a penalty, and that has been reduced for varsity riders receiving neutral support. No penalty on neutral support, and then a 5-minute penalty on outside assistance. In addition, we added no metal or glass containers in the feed zone. Littering and discarding items dropped in a feed zone or a drop zone. We want to keep our venues clean and better for having us there and not leave random things out on the trail, such as water bottles or wrappers, things of that nature. So we'll be expanding the feed zone and drop zone. Then we also had to just kind of clarify a rule around promotion of adult products on youth jerseys. Again, more can be found in our rules PDF on that. So intermediate middle school, kind of expanding a little bit on the change for the category name. Think of this again as the previous year's novice. We are going to be calling it intermediate. These racers will be on course roughly 45 to 60 minutes, doing 2 to 3 laps of a 3 to 6 mile loop, depending on what the venue has. And there will be 3 categories for intermediate. Females in grades 6 through 8 will be combined. Males in 6th grade will have their own category, and then a 7th and 8th grade combined male intermediate category. The novice middle school
Oh, sorry.
is going to, oh, go
I was
ahead.
going to say something on this one. So, just wanted to note that most 7th and 8th graders, if you raced novice last year, you'll automatically be placed in intermediate this year. All incoming 6th graders who were upper elementary last year will automatically be placed intermediate. If coaches feel a rider is not ready for immediate, then MiSCA approval is required on novice downgrades. And you have to submit the category change request. So if you're a coach and your rider is an intermediate and you think they should go novice, just fill out the form and let us know why that's the case, and then we can go through the process on that. But we just since the novice category, which we're going to talk about in a second, is really for beginners. If you've raced previously, then it kind of is not, you might not be considered a beginner anymore at that point. So we'll just take a look at the results and things like that if we feel a downgrade is necessary.
Yeah, I would add to that if prior to hearing any of this meeting, you had a rider that you planned on going into novice middle school, that category is now called intermediate middle school. For what we will have as novice in 2025, that is going to be for our true beginner rider racer. They will be on course roughly 30 to 45 minutes, doing 1 to 2 laps of the 3 to 6 mile loop, again, venue dependent. And there will be 3 categories, same as the intermediate breakdown. Females in grade 6 through 8 will have a category. 6th grade males will have a category. And then combined 7th and 8th grade males will have a category. I did see a question in the chat. I wanted to answer that real quickly. Sarah said, the question was, how big were the categories? Knowing that we're splitting and having a true beginner, we're calling novice and the intermediate category, it's hard to say how many kids will be in them, as some of the brand new riders got absorbed into a category that now in the fall, the intermediate riders will be in a separate category. Okay, we can move on to.
Yep, and I was just going to note on this slide the just again about the placement of who we're recommending stays in novice versus who's going intermediate. So those finishing in the bottom kind of 25% of novice last year will automatically be placed in the new novice category this year. So for the riders who maybe took a really long time to get through the course last year, they will automatically be placed in novice to do 1 less lap. Again, they can definitely upgrade. There's no approval required to upgrade as long as you do it before August 1st. So definitely if a rider is ready for intermediate or they're ready to do 3 laps now and they had previously not really been ready for that, definitely upgrade your riders to intermediate because we want to leave novice for the riders who really need it. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome, thank you for that. We are
Can I add
continuing.
something real quick?
Sure.
I just heard somebody mention something about, I think Sean mentioned about category changes for personalized plates. So they don't have to have that tape on there. Please have those in by August 1st. So coaches, make sure you go through those reports in CCN to make sure that your riders are actually in the right categories. Make it a lot easier.
Okay, moving on to our affiliation with USA Cycling. We are offering, or we have a $5 off code towards a junior license. This is something I would encourage you guys to do. If you plan on going to any USAC affiliated race, it will help with points and staging and call-ups. The more kids that are licensed in a category as they go to other races have better staging because they'll accumulate points through the MiSCA series. On to the fun of our fall race schedule. Here is our race schedule all on one slide. We have 6 races starting August 23rd and ending October 12th. I will go over each of these on their own slide. So let's get going with race number 1. We are going to be going to Merrill Trail, just north of Grand Rapids, over on the west side of the state, to Premier Park. For those of you that have raced with us before out there, we expect minimal changes from years past. And then for those of you that are new, you can go to the Premier Park and ride the trail. Please note that when traveling out there, the trail does alternate day directions, and we race on the Sunday direction. There is no on-site camping. It is very close to some campground. Wabasis Lake State Campground. There's plenty of hotels in the area. One of the things that we do hear from this venue is the need for flush toilets, and there are flush toilets on the property in the middle of the ball diamond fields. So more information to come out on that later with a good map we'll be providing to the community. We will be taking a weekend off for the holiday and then heading to race number 2 to Addison Oaks County Park. We do anticipate minimal adjustments from years past. There is on-site cabins and camping through the Oakland County Parks and Rec website, and there are some hotels that are nearby. A fun note for those of you that have raced with us in the past at Addison and found yourself in an entrance line, waiting line rather, the Oakland County residents pass and millage and entrance is free now. So there will be more information coming out on that. Hopefully more streamlined to get into the park. Race number 3, we will be going to Owassipee Scout Reservation, quite a ways north of Grand Rapids on the west side of the state. You can rent campsites and cabins through their website. That is actually up already. We expect minimal changes from years past. It is a little bit sandier than some of our east side trails. There is some nearby camping, if not camping on site, and some hotels in Whitehall. For race number 4, we have a new venue, and I want to give a shout out to the Thundercats for bringing this venue to our attention. It's the first time we will be going there. The trail is spectacular. We're still working on some course designs. That park, similar to Merrill, alternates direction. And at this point, I cannot tell you what our race day direction will be, yet strongly encourage you over these warm spring, summer months to get out there and pre-ride the trail. It's a great trail. While there is no camping on site at the property, there is some camping nearby at a county park and a couple of private campgrounds, as well as some hotels in the area. On to race number 5. We will be going back to Bloomer Park. We've taken a couple of years off there. What's noteworthy about Bloomer is the park is very excited to have us back. We are going to have a whole new race course feel as we will be staging out of the north side of the main parking lot. The city invested a ton of money in the cricket field, where for those of you that raced with us in the past, we will no longer be using that field. That will be an off-limits field for the cricket participants. There's no on-site camping there, yet Addison Oaks County Park is close by, and there are some hotels. As soon as we have the course maps, we will be publishing them, as this race course will be a little different than we've had in the past. It is noteworthy. Last thing I'll say on Bloomer is for coaches or independents that may gather in groups, when you go there, please check ahead of time by calling the park and make sure that there is not another event going on. We do not want to overwhelm the trail system with a team having a practice and there also being another event sharing those trails. Okay. For our final race, brings us to Heritage Park in Adrian, our state championship race. Very minimal changes from our past events there. No on-site camping. There is some very limited camping nearby, yet lots of hotels in Adrian. And that is our fall 2025 race schedule.
Awesome.
There is a question real quick I want to address for, are there camper parking available at all the races? There will not be overnight camping. We will do our best to accommodate. The two exceptions I can see would be Bloomer and Warner. They have more limited on-site parking, yet there are public spaces nearby, like a hotel parking lot or a Meijer or a Walmart parking lot that you might be able to drop or try to carpool in and leave your vehicle there. One thing that's not on this slide, but I will be sure to include that kind of information is, we're launching a racer guide that will come to you in the next couple of months. And that's going to be a one-stop shop for all of the information we want you to know for all of the races. So we can streamline our communications leading up to the race instead of putting all of that information out in an email along with your riders staging. You'll have a guide that you can open up as a PDF similar to our rules and check out all of the information you need for each venue. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Zandra. We're going to move on to kind of all the other programs that we have running in MiSCA now with Sarah Vano, our programs director. Welcome, Sarah.
My name is Sarah Vano. I'm the programs director for MiSCA. This was my 8th season with MiSCA. I've had various roles in the league, but basically the programs director role oversees any non-racing programming and stuff that kind of just gets folks outside of a race setting in some various, oh, my cat's also going to join us. This is Denali. All right, Sean, you can move on. Okay, so first we'll start with our coaching curriculum. This is somewhat of a duplicate slide from what Jacob Rende and Sean had been sharing before. But basically, coach curriculum work is going to be absorbed in our programs so that we can kind of develop a more comprehensive program that expands beyond what's just listed here. So these are just the basic requirements of what you need for each level of coach. And then if you move on, we'll share some stuff that we're going to be adding. So we have a variety of skills clinics that we offer to our coaches at no cost, as said before. So this is something that someone from a company called Cognition Coaching, Ben Tufford, his company goes throughout the country and teaches youth mountain bike coaches how to teach skills to kids. So even if you are a seasoned mountain biker or a beginner, the whole point of these skills clinics is to kind of put this in a way where, okay, how can we put this in a digestible format so we can teach it to kids? And this just becomes so valuable, especially if you're, just in those moments on the trail where you're riding with a kid who may be struggling. It empowers you with some knowledge to help them with that. So even if you are a relatively new rider and you're saying, I'm just a level 1 coach, parent, person, there's definitely still some value in getting that. And even if you are a seasoned mountain biker, oftentimes if you've done something for so long, you kind of get stale in how you teach stuff. So I think it really is useful for even if you are an experienced mountain biker as well. So definitely encourage everyone to check that out if you haven't. If you want to host a clinic with your team, you can reach out to the link that's provided. It's also on our website. You can fill out a request, and the way that'll work is we can bring one of our coach instructors to your team. This would also open up the clinic to folks outside of your team, just so that we can kind of expand, the options for ways that coaches can attend these clinics. So if you are interested in that, go to the link here on the slide. It's also on our website, where you can fill out that request. Yep, and Jeff Weaver already kicked off the first one back with our Manchester team a few weeks ago. So one of our new teams got to take advantage of that already. So thank you, Jeff, for doing that. And welcome to our new Manchester team. Okay. So as I said, we are expanding our coach curriculum. So I'm excited because we've been wanting to do this for a while. We just haven't had the time and resources to do it, but we are developing a new learning management system. And so the hope here is that our coach education can go beyond just the checklist boilerplate items we've had for, which are very important. But we also understand that there is some other information that may be very valuable to our coaches. So we plan to include information such as we have a women's health seminar that was held a couple years ago, thanks to our sponsors with Adam Sports Medicine. So we already have the material. We just need to put it in a presentable format so that coaches and parents alike can go check this out. We're working to develop an endurance curriculum. So teams and individuals alike can look up some basic principles for how to kind of go about their race season, and try to develop a plan so that they can, hopefully develop better fitness, stay healthy, stay uninjured. We are also gaining some resources thanks to some other independent leagues that we've partnered with to work on a mental health, youth-focused mental health module. So we've seen some really good information coming up from those leagues, and they've been generous enough to start working with us on helping provide that. And then those of you that have taken the in-person skills clinics, we want to make just a video library where you can just refresh, just the keywords and how to teach the skill, just again, quick reference videos that you can access at any time. And so this is all happening thanks to Sean Malone. So he is out of the Thundercats area. This is something that he does as his full-time job. And so this is something that we know that he's just going to be a great resource to us in helping us put this together. So so we're happy to welcome him. So just be on the lookout for that material to come out in the next throughout the season. And it's really just going to be a living resource. We're always going to be adapting it. We'll probably keep piecemeal adding stuff. And especially as our programs kind of become these incubator spaces for curriculum, like such as Devo and Brave and our adventure program, we want to make sure that this information is available to as many people as possible. So another coaching program that we have available this year, we do have a junior coach option. So if you are a student that is 15 or older and you are more interested in helping kind of like as a junior mentor, you want to work with your the younger kids on your team. I know there's some folks that really find that fulfilling and enjoyable. That is something that can be an option for some of our students. You do get access to our coach training, and you will have to go through, just some of the stuff that we learned just as coaches. We're not going to make you take first aid or be responsible for any first aid scenarios. It's just more putting you in a position to better work with your younger peers and help you fulfill that role. We also are continuing to have the option for outgoing seniors. So if you are under 18 and graduating in 2025, but you still want to ride with your team before you go off to school or whatever endeavor you're going on after you graduate, that will be an option for you as well. So I believe that costs the same amount as just being a coach. I think that's $30 because you're obviously not going to be taking advantage of all the other things that you normally would as an annual member. So if that's something that interests you, that is an option that's available.
And just a note on the junior coaches, I did have somebody reach out about how to do that, because it isn't something you can just do by default. So if you want to be a junior coach, you just register for MiSCA like normal as a student, and then your coach can nominate you to be a junior coach. So if you're interested, if your child is interested in that, or if or on your team, you're interested in trying to implement that, you just have to let MiSCA know who should do that, and then our registration at miscabike.org, and then we can kind of upgrade them to a junior coach. They're still eligible to race and they're just a regular student on the team, but they'll also have like the coach curriculum items as well.
Is there a specific process that the coach needs to go through, or do they just literally just email registration@miscabike.org and say, I want this person to be a junior coach?
Yeah, they just email us and let us know. There's not like a application or anything like that for it, since the team is the one that kind of manages that coach from then on.
Okay.
One thing just to note is like they don't count as a coach on the team necessarily. So like for your coach numbers, like having to have an adult present, they're not an adult, so they don't count as a coach. But it gives the rider kind of additional level of leadership and responsibility on the team to be able to kind of help out, and they can go to coach training and things like that to learn how to teach the skills and stuff like that. So it's kind of a cool thing for them to be able to do.
Yeah, I can tell you, just my experience with running my Little Bells program that we have in Milford, we do have a junior mentor role, and that really just becomes a valuable resource for me because our girls can definitely relate to these junior mentors better than they can to myself or some of our other mentors who it's been a minute since we've been kids. So, they can often relate very well. So if you find someone that you think might just naturally do well in that role, consider talking to them about that. And as Zandra pointed out in the chat, they can still race. That's absolutely, you can do both. It's just an additional option in case you have kids that maybe want to go that route. So, okay. All right, so some other programs that we have going on. So just announcing our 2025 MiSCA Devo team. That's our junior development team that is run by Kurt Droz and Brian Miller. They both have daughters that have aged out racing in the varsity, our varsity category, and their daughters are both racing collegiately. So they started this team to kind of help as many students as possible, just have some more resources to just, again, get to that like next level beyond MiSCA, hopefully give them some more knowledge. And at its core, it is a one-on-one individualized coaching program. So all of our team members work with one of our 4 coaches. It's either myself, Justin Krieger of Krieger Endurance. He is actually our naming rights sponsor for MiSCA Devo. So thank you to Justin. Let's see, Jeff Weaver, myself, Kurt, Justin, and Jeff. So we all have, our own backgrounds and certifications that we all work together with all of our students. So this picture is just our 2024 team, or at least most of them. We were able to grow to 25 students this year. And we had a record number of applicants for this past season. And it was a good problem to have because we at least had interest. But it was tough to turn away a lot of very qualified kids. So we appreciate the enthusiasm. Don't get discouraged if you applied and didn't make it. This was actually a really tough year to pick those kids. So, but we're really excited to see what they do this year. If you want to learn more about who our riders are, we're working on rolling out individual rider announcements on our MiSCA Devo Instagram. So, again, thank you to those that applied, and we're looking forward to seeing how this year goes. All right, our Brave program. So this is our girls ride program. So basically working to get girls together across different teams. This becomes such a valuable thing, especially if you have a girl that races. This can kind of help develop relationships, I think, just beyond race day. So we have 3 different kinds of programs that we're offering this year. And this is based on survey feedback that we solicited last year, as well as just some resources that came our way that we wanted to take advantage of. So we will be continuing our ride programs, which are just meeting 6 times throughout the summer. So it'll be the same group. So you'll kind of just get to know them throughout the summer in, just in a casual, non-competitive riding environment. We will be offering what we're calling the Brave Games skills clinics. So these are half-day clinics that will focus on just learning skills in a more fun, play-oriented environment. We're not just going to have girls go do cornering drills out in an open field while we watch you. We're going to try to make these a more engaging, enjoyable experience, especially for someone who might be new to the sport and may want just a gentler introduction to it in a less intimidating environment. So we're going to be offering a few of those this summer. And then we have our Brave Explorers program. So these are a couple events where we are getting off the bike, if you can believe it. So just enjoying other ways to, finding other ways to enjoy the outdoors. And so I'll get into more details on those programs here. So our ride programs, these are a continuation of programs that we've been offering for the past few years. So Tina Meyer leads our original chapter, and that is moving to just Eastern Oakland County. So what we have seen is that these rides were kind of all over the place. We were going to like Livingston County all the way to like Lake Orion, and we found that attendance was really dropping because it was tough for everyone to make all the rides. So we've decided to just kind of keep it in one general geographic region to hopefully create a more consistent experience for the girls. And with the exception of like one of the days, which is the first day, these will all be on Sunday late afternoon. So it'll be a consistent day of the week and a consistent time. Same thing goes for our Brave Junior program. So the Brave Eastern Oakland County, that is available for middle school through grade 12. Brave Junior is for our elementary school riders. Same deal, general, same geographic region. They're going to be riding at Stony Creek, Addison Oaks, and Riverbends. Also on Sundays, there will be some overlap with the other Brave programs. So you guys will probably be running into each other. $75 for MiSCA members, $100 for non-members. For all these programs, by the way, you can go to the Brave website to see what you're getting for your money and what all is involved. So those are our ride programs. Our Brave Games skills clinics. So there's two that are going to be available to middle and high school, and one that will be for our elementary school riders. So these are led by folks that are pretty seasoned coaches. Either they're seasoned skills instructors, or they've worked with Little Bellows for a long time, or they just have really great experience working with groups like this. So it's a pretty great resource to have, and hopefully we want to see as many folks as we can show up. So the one at Settlers Park, that's led by Jill Heist and Kara Daniel. So Jill has been probably one of our longest standing skills instructors in the league. Myself and Ashley will be running the one at Oak Openings in Toledo. That's in June. And then we will have one in Brighton that is led by Zandra, who you just heard from, and then Vanessa, Vanessa is one of my seasoned Little Bellows mentors, and also has a lot of professional certifications in teaching mountain bike skills. So it's also the same weekend as the Brighton Adventure event, which I'll get to in a little bit. So hopefully, if you have someone that's interested, we'd love to see you out there. See, in our we have two of our aforementioned Brave Explorers event. So the Paddle and Pedal event, we're going to do a kayak up the Huron River out of Hebner Canoe Rental, and then ride some Proud Lake flow trails. We did this last year. Your entry, if you're a MiSCA member, it pretty much just covers the kayak rental. There's really not, thankfully we can make this pretty cheap. And then our Toledo Explorer project. So this is something that we're doing in partnership with the Toledo Metro Parks. So this is an elementary aged program where they're going to learn skills like archery, fishing, tree climbing, lots of cool stuff there. So again, go to the Brave website, and if you want more details, you can look at the website or reach out to myself. My email is either someone put it in the chat, or it's pretty easy to find me otherwise. So. All right, our adventure program. So this is something that we started last year, and again, solicited feedback on. We are adjusting how we run this. So an adventure event is basically an orienteering challenge. So you'll get some instruction on how to just do general navigation through a map. You're going to be looking for certain course checkpoints. You do this with a team, either one that you put together yourself, or if you don't have a team, you can sign up and, we'll find one for you. And basically you just find all the checkpoints that you can in either a 1 or 2 hour challenge. So last year we offered 2 and 4 hours. We realized that this was a pretty big chunk of your day, especially for a summer weekend. So we pared these down significantly so that, you can still have a really great experience at one of these events. And then, you still have, it doesn't take up your whole weekend. So that's the hope there, is that we'll get some more people that give that a try. So we're returning to the same venues that we had them at last year. So that's Stony Creek, Brighton, and Pontiac Lake. So we're just going to revisit how we did those events in the past. And, Mark, our event director, our program director, already has some great ideas on how to improve these. So thank you, Mark, for putting those together again. And good, next slide. So in addition to that, Mark is offering what we're calling practice takeover. So we understand that these events are tough to get to in the summer. And so if you want to bring the event to you, this is something that we're now offering. So in May and June only, basically you can work with Mark and he will come to a venue of your own choosing, and he will work to put together a 45-minute challenge for your team. And that's after going through some Adventure 101 tutorial instruction time that kind of guides you on how to just do the orienteering challenge. So I can tell you that we already are kind of filling up Mark's schedule, so that if this is something that you want to do, I suggest jumping on it. This is a pretty good team building event to have, especially in the beginning of your season and people are just trying to get to know each other. It does require you can have people all throughout your team working together, have coaches and senior riders and younger riders all on the same team working together. So it's actually a pretty great opportunity to try and just do some team building, get to know each other in a way that's a little bit different than just we're all just going to go ride our bikes today. So, and that's at no additional cost to the teams.
I would say the practice takeovers too, it's kind of like a light version of the
Yep.
adventure challenge. So what's really cool is that by doing it in May and June, you're kind of like building your skills so that when the actual events come up, your team will kind of be ready for it a little bit more. It hopefully will drive some people to come to the major events as well.
And I'll just throw in there real quickly that I've got 5 of them scheduled for this year, and I'm excited about them. They're going to be a lot of fun. I'm working with 5 different teams and have a good part of them already figured out what we're going to do, and they're going to be really fun.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I mean, and Mark has been running adventure races for years. Like, this is something he has a lot of experience with. So bringing that to MiSCA and learning how to adapt it to, what works for our league and those that want to take advantage of it has been a process that we're working on. So this is just one way we were hoping to kind of get the word out about the program. So thank you, Mark.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. And then
Sorry,
Sean, was I going to talk about volunteers or are you doing it?
I'll talk about them. Yeah, I think that this is just kind of the wrap up of the meeting.
All right.
Header of like, who's going to talk now? Yeah, thank you, Sarah. You have a lot of different hats and I appreciate everything you're doing. So I also appreciate that we have a ton of volunteers out there and we need you all to help us to make MiSCA possible. Really importantly, mostly at the races is where we see the volunteer need, right? Obviously, coaches on the team, generally there is a lot of coaches, and that's definitely needed and necessary as well. Where we need your help more now is at the races generally. And the adventure events also need volunteers as well. So if you're signing up your kids for adventure races or the adventure challenges, and you're not sure if you're going to do it with them or if you're not going to do it, but you're going to be around, that's a good time to sign up to volunteer so you can actually see what they're doing out in the woods and things like that, and then help us out. But generally at race events, we have kind of four main ways that you can help. You can help by setting up in the morning on Saturday. And then on Sunday morning, we also have a small setup shift. But Saturday morning is our biggest setup that we need to do. It takes a few hours. Generally, we don't need as much help in course marking anymore, but helping us to set up the start finish area and get all of our tents set up and everything taped and staked is very important. And the more help that we can get, the faster we can get things set up and people can pre-ride the course as it's meant to be. Sometimes we need help with parking and traffic control. So if you see that option when you're signing up to volunteer, you can do that. Course marshals are always in demand. So this is where generally you'll be set at one point in the course, and then riders will come by you and you might help to regulate traffic of like pedestrians walking across the path, or maybe you'll be in an area that is a little bit where there's like a big turn or a bridge or something like an obstacle that more kids may have challenges with. And you can warn them about the challenge coming up or just be there so that you can radio if somebody were to get hurt or something like that. So that way we have eyes on those areas that may be a little bit higher risk. We also have roaming course marshals. So those would be for more of our level 2 and above coaches who get out on the bike actually and kind of not patrol, but ride along with the riders. Not necessarily in a sweeping motion, although we do have sweeps on the course too that you can sign up for. But our roaming course marshals are generally, they might ride for a while, stay at a stationary spot for a little bit and kind of watch some riders go by and then ride a little bit more. The idea being that there may be, a half mile or so, or maybe a mile between stationary marshals. And so our roaming marshals will find anybody in between there that may have fallen or gotten hurt or something like that, or needs help getting their chain back on or something. Like they can generally help throughout that area. So as long as they keep moving, we pretty much have full coverage over the entire course. Within minutes, we'll know if anybody needs help. And then we do have a sweep for every category or not every category, generally every wave. So generally, we have 4 or 5 categories might go off at any time during the race, and we'll have 1 or 2 sweeps for that entire group. So that way we know that all of the riders have finished physically from that course, and there's always somebody with that, the last few riders that are riding. And then course cleanup, generally this is something that's a challenging on Sunday evening to get more help with as we try to pack up and get the trailer loaded and all that stuff. It's a lot to do, so as many hands as we can get, the better it is. And it's always super helpful when everybody's willing to come out and help us take down the stakes after when we're able to take down the start course. But taking down the finish line is where we could always use a little bit more help, because usually at that point there's fewer people around at the end of the day. To be a race volunteer, you don't have to be a coach generally. Some of the course marshal roles do require a coaching certificate because you might be in one-on-one situations or require first aid CPR training in the area that you're at. And we just want to elevate those roles to be very helpful if needed. And if you go to miscabike.org/volunteer, eventually there will be volunteer signups for each of the races. And those will be all announced. They'll be in the race guide, and they will also be in the pre-race emails that you'll get so that you can sign up to volunteer. We do expect that each family volunteers at least once per season if you're going to race. So each racer that you have in your family should be 1 volunteer shift that you would sign up for. Okay, and then just before we move on any further, I just wanted to call out and thank our awesome supporters and sponsors of MiSCA. Many of these sponsors have been around for many, many years, and we wouldn't be able to do MiSCA without them. They're able to obviously there's fees associated with being part of MiSCA, but what our sponsors do is they help build the next year of MiSCA and the next step and make sure that we keep the lights on and that this is a year-round program and not just a race series. So our sponsors are what makes that all possible. And I did want to call out as well the Motor City Mountain Bike Association and the Clinton River Area Mountain Bike Association. And I just wanted to plead to you as, people who ride mountain bike trails, and whether you're new to the sport or not, to make sure you give back and support your local trail advocacy groups. It could be MCMBA or CRAMBA, or maybe you live in Southwest Michigan and it's the SWMBA, or it's the WMMBA, or whatever MBA you live by and you utilize their trails. Please join as a member of those associations as well, because they're the ones who are building and maintaining the trails that we use every day, our teams use and ride on, and our races are at, and our events are at. So we need those trails, and we need those advocates in our communities to make sure that that work continues, or else there is no trails and there is no MiSCA. So we really need them and rely on them to create the venues that we love. All right, so after today, you might have more questions. You might want to make sure you're getting updated. You can sign up for our newsletter at miscabike.org/update. I think if you click the QR code, it goes to our website, and all of our social media handles are on the bottom of the website if you want to follow us there. I'll note, like, once you register for MiSCA, you automatically get signed up for our newsletter. So please don't unsubscribe if you get an email from MiSCA. If you do that, then you might miss important updates later on, because it's all part of the same communication system, and that system will not let us email you if you unsubscribe. So even if it's something important, like letting you know about a change in a race or confirming a registration for your rider prior to the race, we won't be able to send those out if you unsubscribe. Feel free to resubscribe if you have unsubscribed in the past, if you're just learning that. Okay, so here's where it's a little bit more of an open Q&A. We've obviously had quite a few questions in the chat already that we've answered, but happy to field any additional, or if you didn't get the answer you were looking for in the chat and you want to make sure that we understood what the question was, feel free to unmute now and you can ask that question, or again, use the chat box if you want to do that instead. Will Sean do selfies with cleanup volunteers? Yes, I will. I'm generally still going to be there, so I'll happily do that.
Yeah, we realize this is a bit of a fire hose of information. So as stuff comes up, depending on what the question involves, and also, like, as stuff comes up throughout the season, we're trying to find better ways to support not only our current teams, but developing new teams and new riders that we're welcoming to the league. So stuff's just going to come up throughout the year.
Yeah, and that's the these email addresses on the screen are pretty much your main people that you can ask questions for from MiSCA, but your head coach and the coaches on your team are going to have a wealth of knowledge that you can talk to and see how they've done things in the past. A lot of questions are just about, like, how does race day work? Where do I go? What time do I get there? And your team really helps to facilitate a lot of that, because your team will have a time that they're going to ride and when they're going to be there on both days and things like that. Yeah, Christian, go ahead and ask a question if you'd like. Just go ahead and unmute.
Good evening. Psyched to be here with the Manchester Rolling Dutch. We are getting inquiries from some of the other towns around us. They don't have any bike shops, they don't have any trails or anything like that, but they have people that are interested. And so I am looking to go and perhaps make a composite program for all of these various towns to join us. I am curious to know if MiSCA would be willing and able to send a representative down with us when we meet with some of these school administrators.
Yeah, just reach out to us. This is something that I actually met with our board to develop a more formalized process to help with stuff like this. So this is something we can support. If you just let us know what your needs are. It might be tough for some of us to make it down, during working hours, but we can at least try to do like a live call. But as far as, if you're trying to develop a composite program, let's work together on that and make sure that you're getting the support and resources you need.
For sure. Awesome. I will, I'll reach out when the time is right, which will be in a little while, but still, thank you.
Yeah, it takes time, just but you know, just keep the dialogue going, you know, both with us and with those folks that you're reaching out to. It is really important to us to have a variety of teams, because we do kind of have these, you know, as you've noted, like trail deserts, right? So how do we get them involved in the sport, and how do we try to reach folks beyond you know, our typical demographics? So
Exactly.
yeah, so I mean, and we're kind of just trying to step this up from a league perspective and support this better. So so yeah, just reach out to either myself or Sean, and we can work with you on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know Christian, you've been involved in other leagues too. So we don't have like a map where like what composite team owns what area. It's not super rigid on how we roll out a composite team. So you don't have to worry about any of that, like stepping on any other team's territory or something like that. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, excited to hear more about that once it comes to fruition.
Right. And it's more in the spirit of when I sit down with a district or school administrator that there's somebody else there in more of an official capacity. And I just say, hey, I'm the guy that's kind of doing the volunteering locally that the kids could come and work with as we start to help you grow your own program here to be independent, but that we operate under the league, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, and the cool
Yeah.
thing about composites, or at least the idea of it, is that, you know, especially if you're going to kind of look at going to schools to drum up support, is that, you know, as that composite team gets, you know, 5 or 6 kids from that school, it may be a driving factor to create an actual club within the school, that's official and becomes more of a scholastic team like Manchester.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually,
So
this is
Mona,
sorry, go ahead, Sean.
no, I was moving on. So go ahead, Sarah. You can.
I was gonna say, this is usually like that, just having the school administrator side of things. This goes for everyone, you know, if you have a good school administrator contact, that is often a gap that we have in our trying to access creating new teams, right? So if you have that connection and it's like a good one on your end, you've already kind of done the hard part for us in some ways. So, you know, so us coming in and just explaining what we do and what we provide, and how we can partner with, you know, certain schools, you know, that's really not an issue.
So there was a question about, do I race in what grade I'm in or what age I'm in? And so I wanted to just clarify the rule around that. So there was also a question earlier about what grade, is it the grade I am today, like in the spring, or is it the grade in the fall? And so I'll answer both those questions at the same time. So when you register for MiSCA, it's going to ask you for your upcoming school year grade. So next school year is what you're registering for. So if you are kindergarten now and you're going to be first grade next year, you would register as a first grader and then automatically be placed into first grade type activities. That goes for all of the grades moving on, because most of our series is happening in the fall during the school year. So we start our race series 1 week before Labor Day, or the weekend before Labor Day, I should say, or not Labor Day weekend, I shouldn't say that. So the weekend before Labor Day weekend is when we start our race series. And so often that's the week that school starts for a lot of students. But fall sports is, you know, they generally start earlier than school starts, even practicing and things like that. So that's how our ages break down. And then just a note on, sometimes a kid may be young for their grade or old for their grade. We still go by grade generally, unless it's about 2 years difference. Then you can come to us and then ask for like a variance from your grade to be shown as a different grade than what you're currently at. We understand that sometimes things happen and you might be above or below, but generally the 1 year above and below, that's included in the rules, that's okay. And that's how most school sports all operate, and that's kind of what we're falling under.
Yeah, someone just had, they said that they were stuck with their
Yeah,
coach registration. So when in doubt, if you're stuck, just stop what you're doing and then just go to miscabike.org/register. Usually if you try to access something from where you're just logged in, it is a messy website. We understand that. It's tough to find a system that can encompass everything that we need with coach, league wide, and team registration. So, you know, if you are having an issue, start there, see if that helps. If it doesn't work, then just email registration@miscabike.org and just give if you have a screenshot or a summary, just 1 or 2 sentences saying, I'm stuck here, what the heck is going on? You know, we'll get in touch with you. But you know, that does it does help to try and not register for things at the last minute. We really do try our best to respond to everything as quickly as we can. But if there is a deadline and then all of a sudden, hey, stuff's not working, then it becomes tough to try and course correct, right? So so it does help to be proactive. That is unfortunately a you know, a limitation that we have there. So yeah, but definitely just let us know if you're having an issue. Right now it's only April, you got time. We just ask that, especially as like team practices are starting to kick up, just make sure your coaches are getting registered so that their background checks are going through so that everything is logistically tidy when you're all getting together. So, and any
Yeah.
adult that is riding
Sounds
with the team needs to be registered.
Exactly. I was just gonna say when we announced the coaches race isn't the time to register as a coach. You should be
Yeah.
registered all year while you're riding with your and doing the requirements and make sure you're compliant. That's usually the last minute stuff that a lot of times we have to deal with. The loop is a common occurrence, and it generally happens with coaches who click the box to register for races, but then they're not of an age where you can register to race. And so you kind of get stuck in a loop of you go, even if you log out and log back in, when you go to register again, you it asks you to register to race because that's where you left off, and you can't because you're too old to race in the student races. So if that is happening to you, you do have to email registration, and then we have to work with CCN to clear you out of the loop, and then they'll reset you into the right path that you're supposed to go. But just so you know, if you're a coach and you're in the process, make sure you read everything that's red. I would make sure you read everything, but if it's in red, make sure you read it. And it says there, you know, if you're a coach, click next, don't click register for races. There is a coaches race generally every year. It's a fun costume race. And it's usually at the last race of the year. I, again, emphasize the word fun. It's not supposed to be super competitive, even though we do award the fastest coaches some awards. But there's, you know, other awards for, you know, the best costume, the best team costume, you know, a lot of things that we award that are not fast related. And it's more for the kids actually to cheer on the coaches and have fun in the opposite role, where normally it's the coaches yelling at the kids and cheering them on and encouraging them throughout the trail. It's the kids' turn to flip that and to be the ones who are the encouragers and to scream their heads off for the coaches. And it's a lot of fun, and that's why we do it, not so much to get the coaches riding. It's more for the kids. So
if someone's asking if a coach status is showing some pending requirements that you think you've already fulfilled, is it still time to bring it up? So I know that Jacob once a week goes through the concussion and coaching on the trail protocol. However, I do know a number of us, myself included, like that registered like as soon as it opened up. We did the stuff and somehow I think some stuff just got missed. So you know, if you registered early, like that should have been fixed by now. But if not, then yeah, just email the registration link and you know, we can get you sorted. So the other thing is the background check. That's something that, you know, you will get an email for because that is it's an independent contractor or a separate contractor that does that, because we can't control like the background check. So if you're having trouble with that, we can at least re-kick off the request through them. So no, not a parent kid relay. So yeah, the coaches race, there's a balance bike race. So the balance bike race is, yeah, those are exactly what it sounds like. So that'll be at Addison Oaks. It's, you know, if you are of balance bike age, stress on age, then we do one loop around the infield. Basically, it's a very it's a pretty fun thing that we do at the end of the day on Saturday once racing is done before awards. The mini bike race is I don't know how to describe it other than uncontrolled chaos, but that is something we typically do at the end of the year that you know, that's usually the last race. So I guess keep an eye on that and usually make that part of our last race kind of celebration.
All right. Well, it seems like the questions have slowed down and we're kind of at time. So if there is any other question that you have burning or you didn't want to ask it on the chat, or if you're watching this video on YouTube and you didn't get a chance to ask a question, email us and we'll happily reply to you within a day or two for sure. And then of course, if you want to join a team or something like that, I encourage you to go to miscabike.org/teams. And there's a contact list for every team and their coach contact is there. So you can ask questions about the team, what days they practice, you know, what are the requirements of joining their team, because every team is a little bit different. We're the league and we, you know, kind of set the framework and the foundation. But part of what makes MiSCA great, I think, is that we do allow a lot of flexibility on the different clubs and teams and how they run their clubs, as long as they're following MiSCA's rules. And then we get to all see each other on race day, race weekend, or at our different events, and have a lot of fun together. So thanks everybody for joining. Thank you all the coaches who are doing amazing work all year long. Thank you to the rest of the staff that helped to present today and are doing work all year long to make sure that MiSCA is moving forward and is ready to go. Yeah, just thank everybody for what you do to make MiSCA great. And we're looking forward to another great year for 2025. We'll see you soon. Thanks.